times that all the people in America, for the president to do this, and his all white coterie hanging around him outside a closed down church. I don't know what message he thinks he's sending, but it's clear who he thinks he's sending it to and what voters.
All right. Trump visits historic D.C. church after protesters cleared with tear gas. Now, Washington, D.C., there's a curfew tonight, 7 p.m. curfew. That means if you're protesting by 7 p.m., you have to get off the street, right? But here is President Trump, who said that, he has nothing against peaceful protesters. Yeah, tell that to Colin Kaepernick, right? When he took when he took one knee and he kneeled on one knee during the football games, and Trump went against that, said the SOBs or what have you. So anyway, let's get to it. So in order for Trump to pull his stunt, he went to that cathedral, St. John's Cathedral. This is a Episcopal cathedral. I'm going to show the video in a little while. President Trump walked on foot to visit the historic St. John's Church near the White House after protesters were forcefully removed from Lafayette Park by law enforcement officers who fired tear gas into the crowd. And they have the legal right to be protesting. And they don't have much time because by 7 o'clock it's over. They have to leave. Trump visited the church after vowing in a Rose Garden address to mobilize the military to help quell protests across the country that broke out following the death of George Floyd. Trump posed for photos in front of the church, which was set fire Sunday evening as violent protests raged in Washington, D.C. around the White House. Trump held up a Bible while posing for pictures with aides, including Attorney General William Barr, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and the White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. Greatest country in the world, the president told reporters, adding that his administration was going to keep it safe. Trump, during the hastily announced address Monday evening, said he would mobilize all available resources, civilian and military, in order to crack down on protests that have popped up nationwide over the death of Floyd, an unarmed black man who was killed in police custody 1 week ago after a white police officer knelt on his neck for several minutes. Trump threatened to dispatch troops to states and cities if local leaders do not sufficiently crack down on the demonstrations. Some of the protests have been peaceful, but they have given way to unruly demonstrations in D.C., Minneapolis, and other cities, leading to clashes with law enforcement and destruction of property. Historic D.C. monuments were vandalized, and windows of business establishments around the White House were shattered. Trump has accused anarchists, looters, Antifa, and other radical left-wing groups of causing the destruction. Trump said he would deploy military forces to D.C. in order to enforce the city's 7 p.m. curfew, which went into effect shortly before the president visited the church Monday. He said at the end of his speech that he was going to pay respects to a very special place before walking to St. John's. Trump walked back through the White House gates accompanied by U.S. Secret Service personnel shortly before 7:30 p.m. National Guard troops assembled in the nation's capital shortly before Trump delivered his remarks. The president said he was deploying thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers, military personnel, and law enforcement officers to stop the rioting, looting, vandalism, assaults, and the wanton destruction of property in the district. Okay, so let's go to the video. By the way, the president of the United States just can't send in the military like that. He has to ask permission if the states need help. Unless there's a violation of constitutional rights, like Eisenhower did back in the 50s. I believe it was Eisenhower, yeah, down in Little Rock, Arkansas, when they wouldn't allow the black students to enter the high school, and I believe the governor was standing there. Yeah, they weren't allowed, so he sent in the military, the federal military. That's one exception. And also, I believe in 1992, the state of California asked for help during the riots over Rodney King. But usually, you have to have permission from the governor. You just don't go in. Otherwise, that'd be like the Civil War. Like when Lincoln sent in troops in the southern states. That was a civil war. So Trump is just talking. He can't just send troops in. So let's look at the video here. See that? People tear gas, the police shooting tear gas to clear the way so Trump can walk through. So, as you can see, America is getting the taste of what dictatorship looks like. Yeah. That's how it works in countries with dictatorships. You clear the way so the leader can pass through. Leaders like Kim. Like Kim in North Korea. So there's Trump. He has a Bible. He doesn't even open the Bible. He doesn't even pray. He doesn't even bow his head. He just holds up the Bible. I believe in one of the 10 commandments. It mentions, do not take the Lord's God's name in vain. And that's exactly what Trump is doing. Taking God's name in vain, standing in front of a church that he doesn't even enter, doesn't even say anything, doesn't even give a prayer, nothing whatsoever. but holds up a Bible. You see? Yeah. So what can you expect? So that's Trump for you. You see? So his base or whatever, you can say, yeah, there he is, photo op with the Bible standing in front of St. John's Church in Washington, D.C. There it is. Do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. For the Lord will not leave him unpunished who takes his name in vain. Exodus 27. God commands us to use his name properly. And this is exactly what Trump is violating. This is part of the Ten Commandments that was given to Moses. Trump is standing there with a Bible in front of St. John's Episcopal Church for a photo op. For a photo op. He didn't say a prayer. He didn't bow his head. He didn't say anything. He didn't even say, Lord, with everything that's going on in this nation, where we in the middle of a pandemic, riots, racism, violence, police violence, nothing like that. To say, Lord, hear our prayer, or bring a group or even a minister out there and pray. That would make sense. Instead, Trump just stands in front of the church with a Bible. This is where we are now, photo op. Stand in front of a church with a Bible and act like, yeah, okay, I believe in God, so you know what? I'm holding a Bible in front of the church. In a time like this, with everything that's going on, turmoil in the nation, over 40 million people apply for unemployment, and the number is higher because not everybody is entitled to unemployment, especially if they didn't have a job or one of those jobs where you're entitled. Some people may be working contract. Like me, I did some contract work this year. I'm not entitled to unemployment. But the point is this. With so many things happening in the nation every day, food lines, people standing in line to get food, people going hungry. That's the moment you will say, you know what, if you're really serious and you have a Bible, you go there and you open the Bible and you get, I don't know, you pull out some phrase or something, a verse, and you read that to try to comfort the nation and say, yeah, Lord, or bow your head or something. Even if you're phony, at least act it like you're doing something. But absolutely nothing. Just stand there and hold up a Bible, and that's it. Well, it says, do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not leave him unpunished who takes his name in vain. Exodus 27. And that's exactly what President Trump has done. Taking God's name in vain, using the Bible for a photo op in front of St. John's Episcopal Church. That's wrong. And I'm sure God is going to punish him, especially with the pandemic that's going on, Hoover type unemployment. When stock market crashed in 1939, Trump always said he didn't want his presidency to be like Herbert Hoover. Well, you know what? You're phony. And God is, since you claim you believe in God, God is giving you the same thing. God is going to make you just like Herbert Hoover. That's how you're going to be remembered.